Welcome to my DCS A-10 vid, my extremely boring startup video. Here's a snippet of the game world. The game space is fucking huge in this game. And it looks pretty as hell on my new dual 580s. This is everything switched on, full ground clutter, full viewing distance, all post-processing, all of that shit. Looks absolutely spankers and runs at a ridiculously smooth frame rate as well, which I'm a big fan of. That's a beautiful aircraft. That's the A-10 Warthog. This is the cockpit. I said cock. And I'm having a look around, but there's no need because we're going to see plenty of the plane in this extremely long startup sequence. So we're going to switch the batteries on and close the canopy, or the roof, as I like to call it. I've closed the roof. Alright, that's the batteries winding up now. I'm not going to get too technical. I'll get carried away at times, but generally it's just a very loose starting shit up vid. And in my next vid I will start doing a proper noobs guide to Mavericks and the like, because they are quite easy if you just memorise the sequence, and then after you've got that down you can focus on what everything's doing. Second dial from the bottom right there is the APU gauge. It'll get up to about 90 and stick there for a while. Then once the APUs hit about 100, we'll switch on the backup generators and the APU generator, which will take over power from the battery, so I can start firing shit up. Yeah, circle it. Yeah, you like that. You like that, don't you? There we go. Clickety fucking click. Beautifully modelled aircraft. This is the CICU CDU page, all your nav stuff. I'm going to start up the bit test on the heads-up display, which is pretty cool. You can interact with it through the UFC, that panel there called the upfront controller. And I've started up the left engine. The joystick you can see in the video and the throttle, or the entire throttle panel, I've actually got a replica kit of. That was me uncaging the standby altitude indicator. The replica HOTAS has the stick and throttle. Oh, look at that sunshine! I get so distracted by pretties. Alright, engines are spooling up. It's the warning system being tested out. Silly Bint will start talking.
Pull up, pull up,
yeah, you'd
pull
like
up.
that, wouldn't you?
Altitude, altitude.
Yeah. Well, I finally remember to switch on the MFCDs. Alright, we're going to load from data tape here, which has all the information we need to run the plane. All the weapon systems and stuff. Bit test is completed. Clickety click. Alright, starting up the right hand engine. That little kneeboard panel there with all the green lights and names to start the plane off successfully. It's just a checklist. Once everything's started or switched off and that panel is black and clear, it means good to go. Anything skid. For some reason I'm loading my DSMS again. So DSMS's data stores management system, which is your weaponry. Default weaponry on this mission is a bit shit, so I'm going to call the ground crew and have them change it up. That's a CDU repeater, which repeats the info on the right hand, below the right hand checklist panel. It simply puts it up on the MFCD. The idea being the pilot doesn't have to look all around the cockpit, can operate both of those MFCDs, his targeting pod, or her Maverick missiles, what have you, using the controls. Alright, so we're going to load up a mixture of CBUs, cluster bomb units, and Mavericks. This is all this kind of technical shit. My squadron mates know what the fuck they're talking about. I just know what buttons to click and press until shit blows up. APU off. We've now got the engines providing power to the aircraft. Turn on the pretty lights. That's my Moe villain. Yeah, baby, don't click that one, you fucking spanner. Look at that, all lit up. It's very pretty. Heads up display is all good. You can see here I'm using track IR, so for the new users, well, okay, that 2.2, 4.8, we've got to wait for the 2.2 to read 4.0 and the 4.8 to read 0.8, and that means the aircraft has been, I don't know, it's like the plane goes, oh, I know where I am now, and it will display your maps properly. That is the most laborious part of startup. Right, we've got to reload the DSMS page from the data tape to get the new weapons to display, and there they are. CBUs, A9 is your air-to-air, Mavericks are your homing missiles, and the Lightning pod. What the fuck was I talking about? I don't recall. We're going to look at mirrors in a second. Yeah, look at that. That will fuck your frame rate in the ass on any other cards. On my dual 295s, I would get a toasty 2 to 5 frames a second on the ground and maybe 15 in the air with mirrors on. Once we take off, you'll see some heat haze coming out of those engines as well, but don't do your cards any kindness. Yeah, it's an intensive beast, but I had no idea the game could look this pretty with a more powerful card behind it. Have I mentioned I've got more powerful cards? Ha ha. There's a targeting pod. Targeting pod. Pretty reflections off the glass. Nav should just about be ready to go. The knee check panel list only has EAC and radar altimeter left, and I can flick both of those off once I've switched my nav type to Aggie, which I just have to wait for this to fire up. Do you like how I threw out Aggie there, like I knew what it fucking meant? Alright, nav's ready. TGP on. Tagging pod on. Go to the Mavericks, switch on the Seeker heads that take a while to warm up. Select my Mavericks. I really should be selecting my tab page, which is my maps. But I'm thinking, I know where I am. Oh, you like that? I just dropped my flaps. Alright, nose wheel steering on. Switch to Aggie. And then I'm looking here, they've gone off. It's because I clicked the buttons on my throttle unit. Yeah, I think it's cool too. Alright, this is where I take off and lose my pilot wings. If I took off and travelled the runway this fast on any airport in the world, they'd have me shot. Court-martialed and shot. So I'm using track IR, which is 3 little LED sensors that clip to the side of my headset, and then it's all read by the IR, the infrared sensor on top of my monitor, and it takes a picture of your head in 3D space. So you'll notice obviously by now I'm moving around, it's all really natural. You have to keep staring at the screen, you don't get eye strain like people will tell you, people who haven't used it. I picked up the Track Clip Pro unit from Natural Motion, are the creators, and it was 250 Australian delivered, worth every cent, useful in racing games, all sorts of military simulators. It's a winner. The joystick I got from ozflightstore.com.au, and that was 700 thereabouts delivered. Paid an extra 200 for Cytec ProFlight rudder pedals. Really good dudes there. They put up with a lot of nervous emails from me going, is it here yet? Have you sent it? Did you get the right address? They must have fucking hated me, but they were always really polite and reliable. So I sit the joystick between my legs on a cat scratching post with the rudders behind it and the throttle on a box to my left. I look like a wanker, but you can't see me, so I don't give a fuck. Going a little too fast here. Really need to slow down. And on this corner, be fucked if I don't know how I didn't flip the plane. Ooh, I can look left. Alright, come to a stop. We're going to check the engine rate out. We're going to hit the brakes and spool the engine up to 80, second dial from the bottom left. And then we're going to let go of brakes, slam the throttle into 100. Watch our speed indicator. When we get to around 70 to 90, we'll turn off nose wheel steering. So currently turning the plane with the rudder pedals is turning the nose wheel. If you do that when you're going too fast, it will fuck your shit up. So once we hit 70 to 90, probably around 70, we'll turn nose wheel steering off. That gives us rudder control. We've got enough air going across the control surface now to give us rudder authority. And then once I hit about 120, I think 130 in this vid, I'll pull back 5-degree incline, rotate, yep, that's the gear retracting. Once the gear retracts, I'll start raising flaps. I said flaps. Oh, looking pretty. You can see those mirrors there showing my wings and the scenery. It's gorgeous. And I think I might bank right. Any time now. Look at that, now watch this body order. Reflections. Shut up. Shut up! Alright, air to ground, switches the targeting pod camera on. I'll show you more of that when I blow shit up in the next video. Turning my cannon on. Just give you a taste of it in the cockpit. Go for it. 30-foot long cannon. 30-foot long cannon that fires depleted uranium rounds that will shred armour like hot knife through butter.
Warning,
This is me fucking
autopilot.
quite embarrassing trying to get autopilot set up. I really should have trimmed off. I'm fighting a
Warning,
downward trim on the
autopilot.
nose, and every time I hit autopilot it's just going, spack! Spack out! Now watch this. The aircraft. There's my bombs. Let her rip. Beautifully done. I'll catch you next time in the next video. Thank you to the fucking probably no one that made their way through the vid. Appreciate you watching. See ya.